is going on, guys? Welcome back. At a different angle here today because there's some shadows that I'm dealing with in this room from the sun coming in, and then I got the light angled at me, so you can kind of see some of them, but they were just bugging me in the videos, so I have switched the angle a little bit. And I wanted to tell you a little story. This is just a personal story, and I want your feedback on if you think I was in the wrong, or if you think this person was in the wrong, or if it's kind of a mutual thing that we just kind of have to go our separate ways. Should I be angry about this? And is this an indictment on the way this guy does business, or is it an indictment on the way I do business? So rewind, there's a card show that sets up monthly, the last Sunday of every month. And it's been going on for a few years, and I set up at it. It's about 35 minutes away from my house in the town that I live in. And he also does ones that are about an hour away from my house in the other direction. And I don't usually set up at those. I did one time, didn't really make a lot of money. So I didn't like the foot traffic and everything that was there at that one. So I've been frequenting. I've been a guy that buys 3 tables at his show for over 2 years every single month. So 12 payments of one. I pay $1,200 a year. This guy's made essentially $3,600 just off of me in a 2 to 3 year period. And so, I didn't want to step on his toes or do anything. And at these shows recently, there's been an influx of people passing out flyers or asking for info to run their own show, which had been my idea as well. I had a big facility that I had in mind, and I wanted to set up my own show. And so these other people had been doing that, and some of the shows were up to 2-3 hours away. I had never really paid much attention to that, but for the most part, the point of that is that plenty of other people, at least 5 every time you set up at a show, would be there soliciting for their own event, and it was at varying distances. Well, the last time I set up there was at the November show, the last Sunday in November, or the second to last Sunday in November, whatever. I think it was the one before Thanksgiving. But either way, I had it in my head that I was going to finally set up my own card show because that's always been a big goal of mine. I wanted to run card shows in my own town because we have a college here, a lot of young people, a lot of sports, and I think that the demand was there. Not to mention that a separate third show run by another person wasn't going on in the month of December. So I thought there's going to be people that don't get to go to that want a card show, that want to be able to buy stuff before Christmas. So I want to push my card show to be the date of December 11th. Now, I started asking people at the Greencastle, PA show, the show that I set up at, if they would have interest in setting up at a singular show on December 11th in 2022 in Shippensburg. And I got a lot of interest. Now, granted, I pull from a vast array of areas because I'm at a ton of different shows. So I've asked a ton of different vendors. I also advertise, I pay for ads and stuff so that I get random people from all over the place. And so, when I tell you the numbers at the end, it might change your mind. But so basically what I did is I compiled this email list by walking around at the card show and writing down all the emails of dealers, vendors that wanted to basically set up at my show. And I was able to eventually sell 30 tables, which I thought was great for a first show. Incredible turnout, incredible customer turnout, and all of that. But right before I was about to do the show, I get a phone call from the guy that runs the Greencastle show, and he's rude right off the bat. "Oh, are you the guy that's responsible for the Shippensburg card show?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And he said, "Well, I got word that you emailed a bunch of people from my show, and then I also heard that you were walking around soliciting vendors to come to your show." And I admitted it right away. I said, "Yes, of course I've done that, but I didn't think it was against the rules or anything because multiple people do it all the time." And he said, "Well, none of them ever had permission. The only one that had permission was the one down in Virginia, Deep Creek or whatever, and I never gave any of you guys permission to do that." Well, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, well, I didn't know that I needed permission because, every week there's 5 people that come up and no one's ever said anything. You've seen them doing it and you've never stopped them. And so now that and he said, "Well, I would have objected to somebody trying to set up a show 30 minutes away." And he said, "So what I need you to do is stop contacting the email list and do not solicit anyone at my show for future events or anything like that." So I said, "Agreed." And he said, "Are we in agreement on that?" I said, "Yes." And he said, "If not, you won't be able to set up at my show anymore. So this is a threat at this point, right? He's basically like threatening me to cancel me at his show, which I don't want to have happen. So I think to myself, all right, the right thing to do is I just won't use that email list. And so at the end of the day, only 3 or 4 vendors, tops, maybe 2 or 3 actually, that I didn't know personally, that weren't going to already come to my show anyways, did I actually pull from that email list that I collected at his show. So like his concern actually didn't even need to be his concern, because he didn't, like none of his dealers, or the way he put it, I'm trying to steal his dealers, none of his dealers ended up really coming, like 2 of 50. So maybe 4% of his thing came over. And my intent has never been to steal his show. Like I wanted to run, I felt like there was more demand for a bigger event that had a little bit more selection and maybe some autograph guests and all of that. And basically I wanted to do it a little bit differently than he's doing it. Forgot to mention that there's a wait list for this show, so he can't even fill the current demand and has people waiting for spots. And I was going to pick dates that were purposely selective and not being put on the same days as his show. So number one, I collected names and emails. I emailed them out. I never wanted to cancel his show or replace it. I wasn't trying to step on his toes. I picked dates purposely that didn't conflict with his other things that he was setting up. And at the end of the day, I kept my word and said, okay, if this is concerning to him, I won't contact the email list. I'll go through other avenues to recruit dealers to my show, which ended up being successful. Like I said, I sold 30 tables for the first show. And so I just went about it a different way. Well, come time for the next card show to come around, he never contacts me to set up at the show. And now we've had 2 shows since then. He has not contacted me to set up at the show, mostly probably because my show ended up being successful. He is now scared or something, I don't know. But I kept my word, and in my eyes, he did not keep his word, because I was not asked or allowed to come set back up at the show, even though he never really reached out to tell me that again. I found out by way of not receiving the text that you normally get every month that says, hey, are you setting up? And then after that, somebody went to the show and saw somebody set up in my spot. So he gave my spot away, and these spots had a wait list for them. So basically, he banned me from his show. After giving me an ultimatum that I followed, he still banned me from the show. And I don't think I'm in the wrong, because I was willing to work with him in any way, shape, or form, and he just saw it all as competition. He saw me as a threat, and he threatened me to kick me out of future shows. And even though I kept my word, he didn't keep his. And so I just think that's really bad business on his part. These dealers want to be able to set up wherever they can so that they can make money, and he's stopping them from setting up at other shows because he wants to monopolize it in his area. He doesn't want anybody else making money off of card shows within an hour of him. He wants to be the card show guy and monopolize the industry in my area. And my response to that is, I am now going back to using the email list. I am going to solicit anybody I want at any time, and he can't do a thing about it. And I'm going to go full-fledged to do 5 more shows this year. He has started this fire, and basically, if he would have just worked with me, this might have died the way it was. But now, if he wants to see me as competition, I am now competition. I am going to be doing everything I can to have a better show than he has. I'm still going to pick non-conflicting dates because I want these dealers to be able to sell at multiple events. I'm not trying to screw them over. Maybe he is, I don't know. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is I kept my word, and Phil from the Greencastle Card Show did not keep his word. He lied, he has no integrity, and he called me on doing something that everybody else had been doing, and that's fine, but whenever you ask me to solve that situation a certain way, and I do exactly what you asked, you shouldn't go back on your word and then change your tone, right? And that's my take on it. Maybe you viewers have a different take, so I'd love to hear it. Maybe I was in the wrong for soliciting to begin with, but in my eyes, I had already seen people doing it, and so I thought, hey, if this was really a problem, they wouldn't be letting people do this all the time. And so went ahead with it. and now I'm banned from his show, which is fine because I can just go and travel to other shows and sprinkle them in between the one that I run now that's going to be successful, that I'm going to push because now I've been pushed out the door at another one. So now I have to do these shows, right? Like now in order to do card shows, I have to do them. And, we're expecting somewhere around 25 to 30 vendors at our next show. So hopefully we can get up to that 50 table mark. And we have the size in our venue to be double or triple the size of his shows. Then we can start bringing in autograph guests, have some different things going on, a trading break table, maybe even some live breaks, some different types of memorabilia. Maybe we can shuffle in some comic books and other stuff. I don't know. But that's what happened. That's where I'm at with it. I think that was showed a total lack of integrity on his part because he came to me with a concern. I addressed the concern, and then he went back on his word anyways. So to me, that was a threat, and he just felt threatened by me. He was trying to get me to not do a card show. He tried to threaten me into not doing a card show, and when I still went through with it, even though I wasn't using his email list, he then banned me anyway. So now we see what he was actually worried about. He was worried about me running a card show more so than he was worried about me soliciting or anything like that. Also, a friend went this last weekend and saw that he's now put up a sign that says no soliciting without permission. So bottom line, our next show is March 12th here in Shippensburg, Pennsylvania at the Shippensburg Firefighters Activity Center. I'd love to see you there. Come stop out. It's going to be a big show, hopefully 25 to 30 vendors. Hopefully we get up to that 50 table mark. If we're a little short of that, that's fine. But in the meantime, I'm trying to get there. So if you want to reach out and reserve a table, let me know. But definitely give me your comments on how you think this situation transpired and what you think, if there were any rules that were broken, any unspoken rules, and who is in the right, who is in the wrong, or if this is just one of those situations where I've outgrown this person and we need to go our separate ways, kind of like a Nike Coke thing, or when Apple broke off of IBM computers and started their own thing. So let me know what you think. If you want to see more content like this, usually I'm not talking as much about personal stuff. I just wanted to kind of put this story out there so everyone could hear how cutthroat some of these people are, and they're tough to work with. But I'm also talking about card stuff all the time. I'm also talking about making money, flipping online, how to sell on eBay, how to sell on Amazon. So if you're interested in any of that, go ahead and subscribe to the page by hitting that logo, like the video. Again, give me your thoughts on what you think about this situation, but in the meantime, keep on flipping.